Hello my friends, 10 tips for growing tomatoes. Tomatoes are an anomaly. Some years they're one of the easiest things to grow, and you have juicy red fruit coming out of your ears. And then there's those other years that leave you begging for even the smallest cherry tomato from your puny plants. It seems to be feast or famine. And the famine years put a serious crimp on my addiction to homemade tomato soup. We can't have that, now can we? I've been digging around a bit to increase my odds of success whilst growing tomatoes, and here are some of the best tips for I found. If you are one of the experienced gardeners in the crowd, then you probably already implement many of these tips. But if you are a newbie, hopefully these will increase your odds of success. 10 tips for successfully growing tomatoes. 1. Plant deep. If you can, bury the stem of the tomato well into the ground when you transplant. The stem and leaves that are buried will end up sprouting roots, and you'll end up with a stronger plant. 2. Amend the hole with some crushed eggshells for added calcium. Blossom end rot is a common problem which can be caused by a lack of calcium. A handful of eggshells at the bottom of your planting hole just might be the remedy for this trouble. And throw a bit of compost in the hole while you are at it. Need more ideas on how to use up your extra eggshells? I've got ya covered. 3. Water tomatoes from the ground up. It's best to avoid getting the leaves of the tomato plant wet if you can, although I've definitely used the sprinkler on my tomatoes in years past, so if you can, invest in some soaker hoses to water the plants deeply. 4. Give them plenty of sun. There are many vegetables that thrive in the shadier spots of your garden: lettuce, spinach, peas. But tomatoes aren't one of them. Be sure to plant them in a spot that has full sun throughout the day. 5. Mulch it. Yes, I'm singing the praises of mulch once again. My tomatoes love my deep mulch gardening method just as much as my other plants. Once I plant my tomato seedlings, I simply pull the mulch around the plant. It locks in the moisture and smothers out the weeds. Click here for Jill's free guide to deep mulch gardening. 6. Give some support. Tomatoes like to have something to lean on. Of course, you can purchase the wire tomato cages from the store, or go the DIY route and craft your own. Here are a few DIY tomato cage ideas. 7. Fight fungus. Underwood Gardens has a recipe for all-natural fungicide that reportedly works better than even commercial products. Simply combine 9 cups of water with 1 cup of milk and spray this mixture liberally on the plant. 8. Watch those yardbirds. I learned the hard way last year that my free-range chickens love tomatoes. There is nothing more disappointing than to reach for a big, juicy tomato, only to discover that its backside has been go-red by a chicken beak. When my tomatoes were ripening last year, I ended up locking my hens up for a couple weeks. They weren't too thrilled with me. But hey, tomato sauce is a priority around here. 9. Don't drown them. This is a hard one to get through my head, as usually everything here in Dryall, Wyoming, can always benefit from a whole lot of water. But tomatoes aren't quite like that. Definitely try to keep the soil evenly moist, but don't drown them in excess water, either. You'll have to play with this depending on your unique climate. 10. Prune and pinch. Pruning the suckers from your growing tomato plants will help it to put more energy into producing actual fruit. This post from the Urban Organic Gardener will give you all the info you need to pinch the suckers off of your plants and maximize your harvest. And of course, you can probably follow none of these tips and still have a good chance of growing tomatoes for a bountiful harvest. But, since I think my beginner's luck has officially run out, I'm ready to get down to business and implement some of these ideas. What's that you say? You have tons of tomatoes from following my handy-dandy tips. Well, you're in luck.